want to talk about this dynamic between you and Billy.
So I think Rob brought Billy in to kind of make his own life easier.
When he found a point where it's like, oh, I really don't know this, he's like, you know who did? And before you know it, he made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Rob was like, hey man, like everything's paid for, you're in good shape, and then like a $50,000 order would show up.
I remember specifically a time 2 guys that worked for one of the supply houses, they're walking up to the house. They were basically coming to break his kneecaps. They're like, where's the money, boss?
Yeah, shame on me. Nice guys finished last. Yeah, it's probably malicious.
Yeah, no, he was.
What's your idea?
Billy could take the app and make like a website version of it. People could go on that website and they could play with the different apps and watch the colors change inside the office.
That sounds insanely clever, and I want to do it.
Okay, so you need an IT guy.
That's me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't know.
Well, it depends. If you can pull it off, it's you. If not,
Yeah, who can get the job? This holiday season, for the safety and well-being of the people putting up holiday lights,
Do you have elderly parents? Do you care deeply about them?
just go permanent lighting. What's your idea?
so, you know, now we've got 2 different types of permanent lighting in the shop, and we're gonna have one more that we're gonna put on the ceiling. So I was like, man, what if we put like a couple webcams in there? And then if Billy could take the app and make like a website version of it, and then we could do a little tutorial so that people could go on that website and they could play with the different apps and watch the colors change inside the office.
It's a clever idea. Whether or not the API will allow that type, like to have permissions to operate that.
I want to do it.
Web-based
I want to do it.
It would be. I told him the first thing I said was like, that sounds insanely clever, and I want to do it.
So what do you just set up a
What would come in the way
six?
is it like a tech restriction if it's permitted?
Okay, so you need an IT guy.
That's me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't know that the
Well, it
allows-
depends. If you can pull it off, it's you. If not,
Yeah, who can get
We
the
don't-
job
if-
done,
if
Billy?
I can't pull it off, that means we need Haven and Omni's direct assistance, because if they have any form of external API.
yeah, Haven would probably do it. Everybody
Yeah,
everybody
he
at
was saying
Haven's
that.
like super
But then
cool.
again, the dude above him at Haven was like, oh, I don't know about that game day thing. But like when you were asking about have the light go off, or sorry, the speakers to go along with it, he's like, I don't know. But then you talk to the guy directly, he's like, I could help you.
Well, the paintbrush sculpture that we did, you know, I had an idea where I couldn't pitch it to the city and like really like implement it like
They didn't like it?
permanently. I didn't even say anything because the way
Oh.
these projects work is like the way you bid it. They don't want you to like come up with some like crazy outlandish idea that deviates from, you know. But there was some spotlights in the top that, you know, went away, and I was going to put a loudspeaker in there. And then Haven's got this AI game day feature that.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, you pick your favorite teams,
And they
you
give
know,
you
and
the
you can
colors,
order
yeah.
them in a hierarchy. And then when your team is playing a game, it like goes into like their theme colors. And then every time they score, it does like some little pattern, you know, where so I asked the guy, I'm like, hey, could you wire me like a 12-volt relay that just sends a 12-volt signal every time they score? And then we could wire that into the speaker. So like when you're downtown in the Arts District, every time the Raiders are
You
playing,
hear
or
it.
every time the Knights are
Everybody
playing,
hears it.
you know.
He has air horn.
At first I was thinking the air horn, but I'm like, you know what? That probably sounds like a semi-truck's like barreling behind you while you're driving.
So while the games are going on, when the teams score live,
Yeah.
you're lighting the street up. You hear
You get
hear everything here in Vegas.
You get a push notification on your phone, just so you'd have with Yahoo Sports or something that tells you that your team's playing, tells you that your team scored.
That's
And then your
badass.
house, you know, so if you had like a cool, you know, setup in your backyard where you like to watch games, you know, it's like you'd be watching games with your friends, and then every time your team scores,
And you
your
have to
whole
tie
backyard would
into
go through some
that.
pattern.
Oh my God, that'd be so badass.
That was like, that's the goal now. We're having some complications with
Well, the
Yeah.
complication wasn't Haven or our idea. The complication was this.
Polydar Repeater is Studio Tech Effects, so this company that produces this product that basically would fulfill the need that we have to then be able to communicate that data to a loudspeaker and repeat it like as needed as it was taking in that info.
So it's got like internal memory that you could store all the different types
Sounds,
of
yeah.
sounds that you'd want to play.
It'd be a sound bite.
So you'd have a sound for this. You'd have a sound for that. You'd have a.
Night score. Well, maybe not the fog.
Penalty.
So you don't get blown up yet. Penalty. You guys suck. 3 on the eyes.
That'd be badass if you set that
It would
up.
be.
Yeah, I was gonna do it. I was just gonna throw it in, just 'cause I thought it'd be cool when we do the handoff
Yeah,
to the
you just-
city.
you
like,
just
hey
need
guys,
one of those
like you
fuckers
won't
to
even
be
know
like,
it's
"That's
here,
cool."
but check it out. You know, I thought it'd be like a cool handoff feature. You know, and just something I wanted to see if we could implement.
He was just going to drop it on like when he was demoing it. He's like, hey, by the way, check this out. Beep, beep, beep.
And I would have done it, except we couldn't get them to build that module
I
for
have-
us and commit to it.
Dude, I have called, I have emailed, I spoke to him once initially. He was at a trade show. He's like, hey, we'll be back in a week. I'll get back to you then. I've exhausted all means of communication possible, is the best way I can put it. The motherfucker will not get it.
But
he would
Haven's
prefer to know that I don't exist.
Haven's cool. Like they do a little like contractor training. So part of their setup when you want to like distribute and sell their products, they make you come down to their facility, and they've got this whole like outdoors like a warehouse, 30-foot ceilings, and they've built like mock homes and structures in there and patio covers and a bunch of different. They got a big tree in the middle. It's pretty impressive. And they've got all their products that you can play with in there, and they do a nice training. And then when I showed the guy the paintbrush, he was like, "All right, yeah, when you're ready, call me and I'll program you some custom things."
Dave, you have something special. I get it.
I'm telling him all the time. I'm like, man, that face keeps the lights on around here. We need.
Yeah, he was saying that yesterday while fucking shoving pizza in your mouth. You're like, he's the one who's making it happen.
The amount of times that we have like wiggled out of a situation where it's just like, I just like that Dave fella.
He's got that gift of gab, dude.
He's charismatic as fuck, and he slipped into me the other day. He's like, I don't get it. I don't really care to talk to people that much.
Well, first time I shot with him, he said, "Joey, just record." I was like, "Copy," and he just goes off. Yeah. He's just got it.
Well, you talked to my wife, right? And she's like, "Man," she's like, when we go out like outside of like work stuff, she's like, "I'm like, can you please like socialize, talk to somebody?" I'm just social because we're talking shop and
because you like what you're talking about.
Yeah,
when
if
you're
I have to like find out what
strangers.
someone's into and ask them about their family, I struggle a little bit more.
That first 10% is like, oh, fuck. And you're like,
well, yeah, I could talk lights all day.
That his wife is like a therapist. So the people that she'd be bringing around from work would be actively psychoanalyzing every word you say. And you'd be like, well, yeah, I really want to relive this childhood memory right now.
Let's talk about it right now, first time meeting you.
I got to plead the fifth all day.
Dude, you're already done with your drink.
Yeah, can I get another one?
Wow.
So here, now that we're rolling, why don't you give us a little rundown. Where'd you find that guy?
I hit a random small liquor shop on my way to my office when I was picking up some stuff here because I think you got a little better luck at like the small places, the
lesser known.
You go to Total Wine and like they're spending money in there. You go to the small liquor shops and they've got some bottles kind of tucked away that I think you have a little bit better luck with.
Hey, bro, can you give me the one off the top? Oh yeah, nice and gold. You didn't drive here, did you?
No.
Yeah, we'll cut it out.
This will be a real one.
I'm not gonna have another drink test this. I mean, personally, I don't drink that much.
What were you drinking last night?
I was drinking the sour. Like honestly,
sour beer.
Yeah,
you are the only person I know that will also drink a sour beer. I love the sweet and the tang.
Saisons and all that. Like, I wasn't into, like, everybody's getting into IPAs. I'm like, that's cool, man. I'd rather, like, eat some licorice if that's what But, like...
See, I'm a candy guy. I love the sweet.
Sours, yeah, they're good. Like, it's not like I want it to be extra sweet or sour. It's just something about it that's, like, it's better than bitter. Like, if I gotta just drink bitter and sour, I'm going fucking sour.
So we should preface where we were. Right?
Oh, yeah. So David just got done with the project. They launched yesterday. It was a soft opening down at Bad Beat Brewing.
Yeah.
He did all the lighting, and we drank a lot.
Yeah. So
I made these little 3D printed cakes that fit over the lighting.
Yep, we looked at those. Terrence was getting a bunch of people of that.
So to continue the conversation of, kind of what we're talking about, which the primary thing we're going to talk about today is permanent lighting. So,
yeah.
It's generally a product that would, wrap the perimeter of a roof line, but there's also a lot of other cool things that you can do with the product. So, a lot of the artistic and accent type lighting within the brewery, we incorporated permanent lighting systems, so we had floodlights that were shining down on the brew tanks and some of the equipment. We've got the pixel lights that you would have around the perimeter of your home running on the inside of the bar and the back side of the bar. Mm-hmm. And then I used that same product. There's a couple trees inside there, so I ran them through the trees almost like you'd hang like mini lights, but I didn't want a ton of lights, so we have like little extension cables that give us more separation between the LEDs. And then Billy played his role, and I found a little pattern for a keg, like a 3D printed keg, and he modeled it and made sure that it snapped onto the pixel.
That's basically how it works. We'll find a solution. Give me some time. It's actually crazy how much.
Bring your mic a little closer to you.
Sorry.
No, the mic.
Yeah, so it's actually crazy how much lighting like that can just influence the mood just indirectly. Like the first time last night was when I saw the floodlights hitting the cakes around the front, and they were casting everything in like a really warm light, like an amber, and it's just like the whole front area was just like people like chilling out on the couch, just like
dude, it was vibey, dude. I walked in like this area over, right? So you walk through the front door, you have this area over here for the people who don't like to talk too much, right? And they're sitting there, they're chilling, they're vibing, and then on the other side you have kind of the same exact thing, but it's like you have the tables over there, and then it like narrows in where all the action is. That's where it like the lights go up, right? So I'm a little I'm less ignorant about the tech stuff, so I'll keep it grounded for the people who don't know. But you would walk in and immediately, like, people would
to be funneled into it.
Funnel into that that bar area where that is. We literally had issues because people were going back and forth. Like, that's the main spot. And one of the things I liked was when we were talking about, literally, I brought it up right before this, was the raccoon eyes. A lot of places you'll go, like down at Chinatown, the Tiki Bar, any of those other bars, harsh light,
and we had
everyone looks ugly.
We had that conversation. That was towards the end of the night, you know, a little bit later on. That's when you really like look around and you're like, it's
when you know when
10 or 11.
When the prospects are getting thin and you're like, I gotta pick one of these.
I pointed it out and I'm like, hey, everybody like actually looks pretty good at the bar. You know, there's not a lot of shadowing on everybody's face. It's nice to walk into a place and you know,
you look good.
And that's the beauty of lighting is that you know you're not supposed to know why. You know, you don't walk in and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to this place because the lighting's good, you know. But when it is good, you know, it's just supposed to kind of fit the environment.
It's like subtle.
So it's like
subtle, you're not aware of it.
It's like a filter instead of an overlay. Basically, it's just like, oh, let me soften your features. We'll keep it dim and you look nice here. Versus it being like some harsh overhead light where you're like, I have a rough estimation as to what this broad looks like.
You know, when I was talking to Nathan, doing his testimonial thing. He did bring up that there were some issues that came up during that, and obviously he's like, yeah, David he handled it. But what were some of those issues when it came to lighting that specific area, that bar? What were some of the issues?
Well, a lot of the artistic type lighting was an afterthought. You know, I mean, that place was intended to be opened up like on a budget. You know, we didn't want to spend. You know, the owner didn't want to spend, you know, more money. And a lot of places will bring in a lighting designer, and you know, they've got, you know, like, you know, you go into pick a restaurant, you know, like a Cheesecake Factory, like the lighting's dialed in. If you look around, there's a lot of fixtures in a place like that, you know. So it takes more than just can lights and pendant lights to really tie a place together and make it look good. So as the place kind of came together and I saw the size of the trees and what everything looked like, a lot of those little features that, you know, we're talking about today with the underlighting on the front of the bar, on the back of the bar, on the liquor shelves, you know, the linear lights, you know, to light up that plant wall that we have over there by the restrooms. You know, all of that was kind of an add-on to that baseline lighting design that, you know, I think now when it's all said and done and you walk in there, you're like, man, what would this place look like without that? You know, it'd be a pretty barren landscape without that additional lighting that kind of tied it all together. And, you know, and I've known the owner for a long time, so I had a lot of creative freedom to, you know, not spend as much as I want, but, you know, do things that, you know, because there was a lot of things. And by the time you're 1 year into a construction project and costs are getting out of control and you're paying rent, you know, and it's like, hey, you want to put some lights here and add some stuff here, like you start kind of pulling back on that a little bit. But honestly, like, you know, like all of the track lighting system throughout, like they bought these fixtures that came with light bulbs, but even when you look at the box, you're like, that's just, it's like I mean, it's LED, but it's like 2005 LEDs, you know. I pulled it out. I'm like, the lighting is like the color rendering on those would have been horrendous, you know. So I went through and I changed all of those. I put hex baffles on everything to cut the glare from the ceiling, so that when you walk in, you're pulled towards, you know, the
you're not nailed by the glare.
Yeah,
you're not
you know,
by that.
You want the light to, you know, direct your eye to the things of beauty, not towards the glare that's emanating from the ceiling, you know. So these weren't, you know, expensive changes. It was, you know, a $5 hex lens on
just
every
being
light
aware
bulb,
of the issue,
you know,
and then
the right size shield blocking it, you know, on the plant wall and behind the seating booth, you know. And the goal here is that you walk in and, you know, you look around and it's like you want to go to the bar, you want to go sit over here, you want to check out this space, you know.
Kind of like when you're playing a video game, man. You see a wall with like a, you know, a yellow spot at the top of it. It's like, all right, I get it. I can jump up on that wall. Like a good lighting design is
to direct the
through.
player.
It's directing you, like it's showing you where to go to get the services that they're intending to give you.
Dude, I just took a sip of that. I felt it in my eyes.
Oh, man.
Holy shit. That's some good stuff. So, one of the things I also want to talk about, obviously you guys got some toys here that I kind of want to bring in, put on camera, talk about them a little bit. But I want to talk about this dynamic between you and Billy, how that kind of started, where you found him. I don't know if it was like in an alley or he was under a dumpster. I don't know where you found him, but I mean, to have someone like that.
sleeping under that truck out front of his house.
Well, where do we start?
It was old boy Rob.
Do we start with the name that shall not be spoken?
Yeah. So okay, so
maybe take a sip.
I'll start with this because we're gonna keep this PC. You know, so I had as my company started growing, you know, and I'll do the Cliff Notes version of it. You know, I had a friend of mine that was in construction, good friend of mine, and I brought him in to kind of like help me with estimating because we bought this software that was just like, it wasn't something that I could sit down and just start using. You know, he wasn't an electrical estimator, but he was an estimator, had experience. So I purchased this software, and that's kind of how Billy first got involved. Was, you know, we had to buy new computers. It had, I mean, I guess you can talk a little bit about what it takes to implement that software into a company.
Yeah, we had gotten this estimating software that was an incredibly involved process to set up. It had very strict like provisioning and access permissions for it, to the point to where it was something that I had never encountered before. And at the time I was working full-time for actually up here in Henderson. So I was showing up after I was getting off work.
Dave was your 5 to 9?
Yeah, I was literally like, I was like showing up after I get to work. And it's just like, I'm just beating my head against the wall because it's just like, there's such strict guardrails as to what an environment has to look like for it to function at all. Like, it was just like, nope, this didn't work. Nope, this didn't work. I'll try again tomorrow. And it's like, I don't even think it was like an hourly agreement. I was just like, I'm going to make this work. And once it got past that point and I had to get their support involved just to even get the baseline rollout of it, I was just like, we'll figure it out. And after beating my head against it for about a week, we got it up and running. And at that point, I just kind of became the go-to, like, you know, person that he could just reach out to like, you know, oh, there's an internet issue for a client. We need connectivity in this area to be able to run like these smart lights that we're installing. Can you go check that out? I was like, yeah, that's no problem. And we kept doing that.
Billy previously worked with Rob, and I think originally Billy was brought in because
I worked at a video game studio with Rob. And Rob,
I believe that.
Yeah.
Rob who?
Rob the Devil.
Nice.
Is who it is.
So
I tried to
Here
go.
in town, they're real-time strategy developers.
I worked for 2K for 3 years.
Oh, nice. I have a bunch of friends at 2K. You might know Jack Wise, red hair.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody knows Jack. He's loud as fuck. Yeah, I worked with him at Petroglyph forever.
So I think Rob brought Billy in to kind of make his own life easier. You know,
Oh,
and kinda-
100%. My
kinda
job
hide
was
in the
to
shadows
fill
and-
his shortcomings. Like, when he found a point where it's like, oh, I really don't know this, he's like, you know who did? And before you know it, I'm at a dinner with him getting a job offer. I'm getting poached from my current job, and I was like, I don't know, man. I really like it. And at the time, I was needing to move. And
you got shit going on in your life.
This is at the time, and we were working out of like a residential address, basically. And he made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
I had a house that I lived in with my family that I bought when I was 20, and then we moved to the house that you've been to, and that house was just for the business. So I had like a detached shop on the property, and then the house was just there. So Billy,
what do you know? Becomes Chateau La Rache, and I'm showing up in there, and I'm like, you know what? Because I'm at the dinner, and I got my son next to me with me in there, and he's like, you know, we can offer room and board. And I was like, fuck, that's really hard to turn down.
So to close it out, you know, Rob came in and was, you know, doing all of my estimating with this software, and you know, like spitting out bids. And you know, these aren't landscape lighting jobs that take a week. These are jobs that are going to progress over the course of 6 months.
Like, yeah, just massive.
You know, a year. 2 years, you know. So he's spitting out these bids and we're landing jobs, and then, you know, he decides he's gonna move back up to Utah, you know, and I'm like, hey, I need you to kind of break down these jobs, because we had just started a job that we're gonna be on for 2.5 years, you know, and there was a couple phases to it, and phase 1 was like 6 months, you know, so I'm like, hey, I need you to break down this estimate for me so that I can at least gauge at a minimum, right? I'll figure it out over time, but I wanna know, like, when we get done with phase 1, I want to see separate materials, separate prices. I want to see how we did on phase 1. Because at least if I can have the confidence that we're tracking okay through the first phase of this project, you know, now I've got at least some peace of mind that for the next year and a half, you know, we're not going to, we're not bleeding out, you know? So I'm looking at a line item on a smaller job, 2-inch PVC pipe. I buy it all the time, you know? And I'm like, hey, man. And this is, you know, for some reference here, this is like right when inflation's like becoming an issue, supply chain stuff. It's after COVID, you know, and I'm looking at this line item for 2-inch PVC, and I'm like, where'd you get this from? And he's showing me on the software, because the software provided some service that...
Oh, yeah. To keep it really brief, it's called Supplier Exchange. Its job was to get up-to-date material prices from these vendors and then keep it in there so it could provide you a bunch of like options available. So you know it's a number that you can swear by.
Oh God, I already feel it. I already feel the underbid.
So you got a whole spreadsheet of all your materials on this, you know, what was a $2.5 million project. So every screw, every wire nut, you know, it's all on this tab sheet here. And there's some big line items. There's big line items for wire, you know, because it's a a 10, 12 acre park, you know? So if you could imagine, like the farther distance you're pushing that power, the bigger wire you have, the bigger pipes you have. So I'm looking at 2-inch PVC pipe on this small project, and he's showing me where he got the number from. And most suppliers were not providing numbers on commodities that were like changing. It was like market price, right? Like ask me and we'll tell you, you know, because the only way you're getting that number in the software is if you're updating a database behind the scenes. So there was one company in town that was posting prices. Now we weren't, you know, this is when we're trying to implement all these systems that Billy was heavily involved in, you know, but as we're trying to get, you know, everything together so that we can, you know, operate on these larger commercial projects that we started taking on, you know, I'm looking at PVC pipe, I'm pulling it up on Home Depot, and I'm like, hey man, that number ain't right. Just on that one project. So he was clicking to carry that number into our bids, but then my team was, when we had to make purchases, we were just calling. We were calling, you know, different supply houses, and whoever had the best price on wire or the best price on PVC pipe, that's who we were purchasing from. But you know, Rob was kind of phoning it in, so he wasn't cross-referencing what we were actually paying versus the numbers that were in the bid. So just on one project, the difference between what we had to pay for PVC pipe versus what we carried in our bid, now mind you, that's not including that there's supposed to be markup on top of it, was $180,000 just on that one project.
And that wasn't the only line item that was a problem there, but
and it was,
this is a great example.
Everything he touched for 6 months. There was Wi-Fi boxes.
Sweating.
There's 36 of them.
It's horrible.
You know, just a box. You know, it's 12 inches deep, 24 inches tall. It's made out of fiberglass so that the signal from the Wi-Fi can come through. And there's different
It's
ratings
just a
on it.
repeater. It's just like an access point going one way.
You know, you look at it and it's like, oh, it's just a box. You know,
How much could that be?
well, there's 36 of them, and they're $2,200 each. It's like
So-
$80,000 in Wi-Fi boxes. He just missed it.
Oh, was that in there? Oh,
So-
they're going to need that, right?
So I'm wearing
damn.
I got an Apple Watch I wear at the time, you know, and like as this is like coming to fruition in front of me, you know, because I haven't even looked at the wire yet. This is just PVC pipe, you know. We're running quick numbers, and I had just put my house for sale, and I'm looking at my watch. It's telling me like to breathe.
Calm the
heart
fuck
rate
down.
is
down,
Yeah.
you know.
It's through the roof right now. Blood pressure like out of his eyeballs.
And I kid you not, how long? When's the last time we saw Rob? About 12 hours after that. He's like, hey man, got to go to Utah.
Packed up and left.
Never heard
He
from that fucker
recognized
again.
how badly he had shit the bed at that moment.
It
He was
wasn't like,
"Time
hey
to go."
man, we're good friends. You know, I was in your wedding.
No,
you
it's
know,
like,
it wasn't
I
like
can't
let me
fix it.
stick
It's like,
around
I
and do the,
fucked
you know.
up. I
mean,
can't fix this
I'm not
anymore.
saying it was
Supreme level
malicious,
whoopsie daisy.
but he was just like, man,
He couldn't. He couldn't.
that's
face you.
going to be a motherfucker to dig yourself out of. Good luck.
Yeah. And that's all we've done since. I mean, not to say, I would say it's been at least a year since we've really been in the direct like reflection of the decisions made at that time or like the numbers that were put forward. But I mean, yeah, those are going to have permanent knock-on effects. We still find the ghost of, I call it the ghost of bids missed past. Yeah, because he was more than a liability.
Now, in
borderline a
fairness,
virus.
you know, just to put a happy ending on it, right? We made it through that project. Everybody's happy. Project looks great. We
I
made
still
it through
got a
all the other
job.
projects.
Yeah, right.
I
You're
lost
still
that
here.
house just as the same way he lost that house. I just had to move out of it.
We
I was just
had,
like, you got to go.
You know, we had, what was it? Not last year, but the year before was incredibly challenging. You know, I mean, bills flowing in. I mean, we had like, you know, Rob was like, hey man, like everything's paid for, you're in good shape. And then like a $50,000 order would show up, you know, and we would just know because like, you know, a lot of lead times on these products are, you know, it's a 10-week or a 20-week or a 30-week lead time, you know? So they don't charge you until it ships or until the supply house gets it. So he was ordering all this stuff, telling me that it was all like, you know, everything's arrived and it's been paid for. And then, you know, we'd get like a surprise equipment order for $50,000 and it was just like scrambling to find places to pay for that. And
Remember a little bit ago when he said he didn't think it was malicious? I remember specifically a time two guys that worked for one of the supply houses, they're walking up to the house and he meets them basically before they get up to the door and he like walks away with them and Dave asks, what was that about? What are those guys here for? And he's like, oh, they were just wondering why we weren't using them as much and all this stuff. When realistically we find like they were basically coming to break his kneecaps. So like, where's the money, boss? And he just kind of so
shame on me. Nice guys finished last. Yeah, it's probably malicious.
Yeah, no, he was a real shitter, and he was the guy who brought me into the fold. I thank him for that, but everything else, good God.
So now we got
what a piece of
Billy. We
shit.
figured it out. Everything's dialed in. Systems are in place. I've got, you know, Aristo, my estimator that you met at the brewery last night. You know,
Yeah, he was
does a
great.
great job.
He does do a great job. He's a funny guy.
We
Good guy.
are. It was.
What's the lesson there? What's the takeaway? What's the you put this down in the notebook?
Friends don't always have your best intentions.
How long would it have taken us though to learn all that if we just learned by trial and error and kind of meandering through these commercial projects? We'd be learning, right?
question.
I mean,
We'd
it
be
was
learning. I just feel like we were
bad
we were
medicine,
training
but it
with
worked,
weights
you know?
on, dude. It was insane. It was. I mean, and I mean, it was. There was that period, and then not too long afterwards was when we went into prevailing wage projects, which have very strict guidelines and requirements if you're going to be doing work for the local government. And so there was just some baseline equipment and like amounts of materials and manpower that we needed. That's just like we're just coming off the tail end of that, and it's just like, all right, let's just bet it all on black. Basically, it was. To properly translate like how stressful this was for him, there were many nights I was kept up by it. Like, this is not my company, you know? But I'm sitting there, I'm laying there, my girlfriend at the time is like, just like, look, she's like, what's wrong, baby? I'm like staring at the roof. She's like, I was like,
the world's ending.
the house
Dude, I
for
woke up.
PVC.
I woke up sweating sometimes. It was tough.
This
sweating
motherfucker
now
wouldn't
just
eat for a
listening
week.
to you.
He did not eat for a
Me
week.
too.
He was like starting to lose color and stuff. And I was like, please, David, you must eat. Like it was insane. I was like, this is like 100% true. It's funny to talk about now, but at the time it was incredibly grim. Like we were like, there were many, cause like coming from the video game and like technical industry, there are like death marches around there when you know layoffs are coming. It's like, you already know like half your friends, they're just not going to work there anymore. But it's far different when you're in a company of 16, 15 people where everyone is like, that's the drive that honestly motivates me a lot of the time to get like maybe like, you know, very time restricted projects finished in like a reasonable time frame, which is by reasonable, I mean unreasonable, and I'm killing myself to do it, is because what if I don't? You know, like there's a lot of people that it's just like, I know their families, I know everything about it. Like
tied in.
The obligation is internally motivated. It's not like Dave's like over there like cracking
I mean,
the whip on
it
me.
does become like a failure is not an option, because, you know, when you have a smaller group, you can almost like just slow it down, you know. And I mean, like if you know, you just a couple people with you, you know, so it's like if you had to like make a radical change for some reason in your life, like you could kind of like finish
Ease
up with
into
your
it, 'cause my
clients, you
team's
could ease
small.
into it, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, this is like, it's become like, you know, like a ship. It doesn't
a
stop
thing.
on a dime.
Yeah.
You know, like the bills are still coming in. You
People
still gotta
are
pay
aware.
insurance. Things
Yeah.
are still
Those
happening.
contracts have
Employers-
dates at the end and
You know,
milestones to meet.
you can't just say like, hey guys, I got this, you know, like, sorry, like I'll finish up what we have on our
It's a
plate and we're
major
going to
league
close
game.
things up. Like you kind of have to just figure out a way to make it work. And, you know, I think over the last few years we're, you know, we've kind of righted the ship and we're on the right path, you know.
And I would say it is massively improved my ability to manage stress, because I would say before the levels of stress,
You got to go through it.
I learned I just get very angry. I just don't. I don't get like overwhelmed necessarily. I just get
His hair, no joke. Like he had like a bald patch and like
completely
two spots on
out
his
of here, and here I got alopecia out of nowhere. I didn't know what that was. I was like, wow. I was like, I could have swore I could grow hair right here, and then suddenly I was like, well, son of a bitch, I got a damn golf ball on the side of my head. Yeah, and I was just like, it eventually grew back. It's on its way out again. It fluctuates, you know.
Good for
it
you
ebbs
too.
and flows.
Good for
I like
both
it.
of you.
I managed to create a higher quality of problem within the company.
Yeah. It's a problem.
Yeah, let's sum
It's
it
a
up
problem.
that
It
way.
doesn't feel like, you know, like it can be like singularly blamed on one person or anything like that. It just feels like we're all like a common team working towards a common goal. Everybody's like unified, and for the most part, the people that have stuck around the longest are there because they give a shit and they are
Yeah, you
their
don't get
intention.
somebody who's working with you
Yeah.
for 3-4 years just because.
And honestly, when we find people that don't have the best intentions or aren't really as like customer focused or something, yeah, we just give them the chop.
Fire
it's like
quick.
there's so few people. It's like, we know who's fucking doing this, man.
And
like,
to be
you gotta
specific
go.
about Las Vegas, you know, I mean, you probably know, like the economy out here, like the highs are really high and the lows are really low, you know. And,
Yeah, you
and
ever
it's
been
like,
gambling?
And I've always been. I mean, I've had a business in some way, shape, or form out here for 22 years, and You know, it's like I've always just been like a victim to the highs and a victim to the lows, you know, and I think we're finally at that point where, you know, I think next year is going to be a really good year, and I think we're finally like have a footing where,
but you can't have that without getting punched in the face.
You know, I think the next time that, you know, the economy really takes off, you know, is I think we'll fucking kill it, you know. So couldn't have been in that position without
that paintbrush
going through what we went through.
We just sent them a bunch of the photos that we're doing. They're getting ready to make like a public announcement about the renovation to those paintbrush sculptures down in the Arts District. I mean, that's going to be great. Me personally, I think that's going to be huge for us, just to have some type of public outlet like that, because then other branches of like the local government are going to be like, wow, they're able to do that.
Especially from like a
these guys
source
love
like
the
that.
arts. Oh my gosh, let's hire them.
Yeah,
we hope.
That's insane. That's crazy shit. So let's jump ship a little bit. I say that, pun intended.
Right.
You guys brought some toys for show and tell. What kind of shit you guys bring? You guys want to talk about it?
Yeah. So you know, permanent lighting.
Yeah. Are we allowed to say the name or no?
We should just avoid doing it. But I probably just any brands will just call that permanent lighting.
I wouldn't say that. You know, I mean, there's like in this space here where you have an aluminum channel and you've got these, I call them pixels. People call them different things, you know, but basically like your LED light source here. I mean, there's a lot of different products that are very similar. And this product here is by that company I mentioned before called Haven. And to me, this is
it's a lightsaber.
This is a very unique product within the industry. So there's different variations of this, you know, and I have my own, you know, things that enable me to want to use something like this and not. So for example, like this is RGB, which gives you your color changing ability, but it's an RGBW. So in addition to being RGB, it's got a dedicated 2700K warm white. And that is a color that you can't just create out of RGB. You know, there's the spectrum between red, green, and blue doesn't exist in a way that gives you that conventional warm white that you'd get from like an incandescent or a halogen bulb. So you really need that dedicated warm white. Also, I like a product where, like this product here, it mounts on your roof line underneath your fascia, and it shines downward.
Did you have any of these in the bar last night?
Yeah, all of the lights that were underneath on the front of the bar,
okay,
the lights on the back of the bar, and the lights that we hung through the trees that we snapped on the 3D printed kegs.
That's these.
That was all this exact product here. This product here is a little bit different because it's a straight like LED strip light that's underneath in the plastic here. So it gives you a continuous look, and probably every 3 inches is programmable. So there's like 3 LEDs in here, so you can create different movements up and down. And the same thing with this product, each individual pixel is programmable. It just gives you a different look because this lights up continuously, and this one lights up obviously from the individual points that are spaced 8 inches apart.
It's a combination of like their style of diffusing these LEDs here and how dense the amount of them is, because, you know, you have a lot more flexibility as to how you could like animate an effect when there's more density of the LEDs available.
It's kind of like
frame rate. Is it like frame rate for a film? You know, like this is 5. This is like 5 frames per couple feet. This is like 20 frames per second.
So we've been installing this style of product for the last 3 years. This style of product, this just came out a year ago. So that paintbrush project, you know, so it's not like we're not experiencing the product. It's a new product, you know, and it's very unique in the industry. So the paintbrush sculpture used this product here, and now we're offering both of them. And, you know, and really I think that's something that we excel in because of my design experiences. You know, when I talk to a homeowner, like most people don't know exactly what they want, you know.
They don't know anything about it.
And, you know, it also depends, like, do we have, you know, a nice professional landscape lighting system on the house, or is this a client that really just wants to rely on this product to light its house standalone by itself? Are they going to run this product all year round, or are they just going to use it for the holidays? And I think answering those questions is going to steer you towards which product is a better fit for your particular client or each particular home.
Let me put your brain to the test real quick. So in what situation would you use this over this?
So, like, for example, I ran a call just the other day, and, you know, these clients are a little bit different, right? I mean, it's a good fit for everybody, but, like I have a lot of clients that have like nice custom homes with beautiful lighting systems, lighting up the trees. And this product here is just for roofline features of the house. But because you can program the individual pixels, if you have a home that has, let's say you've got a column on one side of your garage and you've got a column on the other, and let's say you've got a peak in between here, like you can program this so that you just have like a couple pixels on this column and a couple pixels on this column, and maybe we land a couple pixels on the peak. So we don't have to have red, green, blue, 4th of July, Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day. It doesn't have to be crazy. You can do a nice traditional, classic, warm white look, and you can create a pattern that you could run all year, and everybody's got their different tastes and flavors of what they like. But for me, I don't think your house might look cool when it's blue, but, or when it's red, but, those are, to me, that's holiday stuff,
Yeah.
And
Or
I think, and because, I like when these face downward because they project additional light down the front of your house. So you can actually turn that on and you can accent that column, and you can have maybe 2 of them on and 5 of them off and 2 of them on.
So that's
it's
like
not
the
so
pro.
intense, you can accent and create a beautiful look on the front elevation of your house. And it's something that you could run all year round.
It fulfills like the baseline for architectural lighting needs when you're trying to accent, features of the actual structure of your home, and then versus something more robust like the Haven system, which is like you are trying to make an effect. You are promoting like what your vision of how your house will be lit outwards.
Let me ask you this: one of my favorite things that I've seen on your project was, and I bring them up a lot because it was honestly one of the only projects I've seen, but the stair lighting. The stair lighting on
Pratt?
Ben.
Yeah, Ben's house.
Yeah, on his steps. So what light was used, because it was an underlight under each step, what was used on those ones?
So I guess I could show you this example here. If you take this filter off.
Okay, so this is the diffusion. This is the, okay.
And if you look at this here, that strip light where you can see all of the individual LEDs in here.
Yeah, show the camera, flip it a little bit. There it goes.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the black pieces are just like a little piece of circuitry, but in between each black piece
you have the
is
lights.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 LEDs. So in this little space here, where my fingers are, you've got 5 individual LEDs. And this diffuser makes it look like it's continuous, almost like a neon light. So this particular product here, Haven puts it in this nice heavy-duty extrusion, and then you can snap them together. But at Ben's place, we used a very similar product, but in a lower profile aluminum extrusion, and that's what we mounted up underneath the steps, running across the stairs and running.
And then you had a
across.
shield on top of it, right?
Just a little shield that comes down to block that glare so that you don't see any of the
so you're not
individual
walking up
LEDs
and
lighting
Standing
up.
height. It's,
And then there becomes like different calculations that go into play. Like a lot of these products, you can't just run power and then just run at 100 feet. A lot of them, there's limitations because it's carrying that current through the actual product by itself. So a lot of products, you can only run them, like commonly would be 16 feet. There's products you can run 25 feet. There's some products you can run 50 feet. But, based on the project, if we have a span that we want to cover that's 35 feet, right out of the gate, you're eliminating most of your options for what products you can use. So it's a similar product to this. It's just mounted in a different channel because obviously on a set of stairs, you wouldn't have the ability to,
to have something that big.
have something that's this.
That brings up a
to
good
it.
point on it. Is sometimes the product requirements of a project are limited by like the technical ability of it. Like when it comes to voltage drop off and how far like a transformer can carry that in there. Some, like you was saying, some things just are immediately cut out of the gate. So it just so happened that this product specifically was a good fit for all of the lengths required to light that project.
So let me ask you, Billy, what separates all the cheap shit, all the cheap installs, from the higher end luxury like pro installs? What do you, based on your experience, based on all the shit you've done with Dave, what do you see the difference of, the poor ones versus the cheap ones versus like the pro ones?
Realistically, like I could only talk about like the specifications of these individual products. And in my experience, a lot of the cheaper ones or entry to mid-level permanent lighting options are probably the exact same manufacturer. They're just kind of like a black label after hours manufacturing in Chinese workshops. They just kind of produce the same product, branded a little different, and
then
get
just
it
throw
out
it out
there.
there.
So I could buy this product here with the individual pixels. I could buy channel. I could buy pixels that if I handed it to you and asked you which one you wanted or which one was better, you would have No, it's almost indiscernible, you know. With this type of product, though, I think for me at least, it's important to, I mean, yeah, I could like go through the ringer and test products and, you know, but you really need a product that has a company that you can kind of rely on to stand behind that product, because if for some reason I put in, you know, 100 systems or 200 systems, then all of a sudden you realize that at that 5-year point you start having problems, you know. If you're buying something and importing it from overseas and, you know, calling it something great and installing it yourself with your name on it, it sounds good, but at the end of the day, you know, an end user as a contractor supplying, you know, a product for a homeowner is not in a position to, you know, make that right. As to where a company that has this whole system set up, that's distributing it, you know, that has a supply chain that's sending it to a distributor, and then as a contractor, you're buying it from that distributor. Now you've got somebody that's bringing that product in that has some accountability in it. Not just that, but Billy could probably talk to like the app, you know, I mean, the user interface, you know, I mean, there's some apps that you turn it on and it's half in Mandarin and doesn't quite make sense and things are a little bit glitchy.
A lot of the time, almost all of these you'll see a recurring name you'll hear is Smart Life, and that is because a lot of these manufacturers, these are utilizing literally the exact same app developer, just rebranded with like a fresh coat of paint on it. And yeah, 100%. They're just like, oh yeah, this is our app, proprietary. We done all these, you know, optimizations. They ain't done shit. Haven specifically is the first app I encountered where I was like, wow, this is actually something that was produced domestically and functions amazingly well. Like the amount of quality of life improvements and just simple benefits of features in there that are like integral to setting up a system. When you first set up, you need to tell it, how long is this length of light here? You do that on here, you're individually counting every single pixel and saying, oh, I got 86 of them up there. This one, the other one that I'm talking about, the Haven, you've got a test pattern that shows, and it's asking you at the farthest left side, what's the color? At the farthest right, what's the color? And then it slowly just simplifies that down, and it shortens the lengths till it finds your exact length just by asking yes or no questions.
Yeah, it spits some colors out on the system. It asks you like 3 to 5 questions. Just like what colors is here, and you answer it, and it tells you that your system's 150.
It's a direct result of people using these other very pre-packaged systems that are effectively all the exact same product and being like, wow, this part about it sucks. I wish someone would improve that. And that's like they care. Yeah. They actually, like, there's many times where, you know, you will see a product as potentially being, you know, just kind of like marketed as being more premium or a more like customer friendly option. This is genuinely one where it's a pleasant surprise to like set it up. I was like, wow, this shit just works.
So I think what Twilight excels at and provides as a service with whatever product that we're installing is, you know, number one, like I like both these products, and depending on what a homeowner wants, like there's certain homeowners that like this is the right choice for them, and there's other homeowners that this is the right choice for them, but they might not know that. So even if I'm not personally going out to someone's house, if they're filling out a form online and they're getting a quote from us, you know, like I'm still involved in that process. I'm still behind the scenes. I'm putting it at that price. I'm looking at the photo of their home, and if I think I need to ask some questions to make sure that what they're telling me that they think they want is actually what they want, I get on the phone, I make a phone call, and I make sure that they're making the right decision.
You don't know what you want, baby. Let me show you what you want.
Because they're very different products, you know. I mean, there's a little bit of a different price point to them, you know, but it just depends on the architecture of your house, what other lights you have on your house, how you intend to use the system. Is it seasonal? Is it purely seasonal? Or is it going to be ran throughout the year in some capacity? And all of those things factor in. And with our ability to offer different products, you know, it allows me, you know, the flexibility to make sure that I'm asking the right questions, and that I can hopefully instill some confidence that in a homeowner that the product that they're deciding to move forward with is the product that's going to check all the boxes and meet all their needs.
So let me ask you this: if somebody wanted to find out, you know, what kind of lighting they should use on their home, or what it would cost, or want that quote, what can they do to get that information from you?
So, you know, number one, send us an email. You know, a website form submission, you know, we'll get it at the office. we'll collectively review it. Rebecca, my office manager, myself, will look at every lead that comes in. I'm happy, personally as the owner. I mean, that's the one. It's the one thing that I'm trying to carve out a spot that I really enjoy, which is lighting design. So, I'm happy to go out to a homeowner's house and discuss with them different options. But we're having, secondary, coming into the holiday season when we're going to have a lot more leads coming in for this type of product. We've created a system where you can go online, you can upload a photo of your house, you can get a little information about these two different products, and basically just submit that to us. And, we can go on Google Maps and we can get the measurements of your roof line. We need the photo because if you have a single story versus a 2-story, and if you have a more intricate roof line, you don't always see that with Google Maps. So that gives us that ability to kind of, but we can be pretty precise, exceptionally precise actually. And we'll, within 24 to 48 hours, we'll give you a quote on whatever product that you're looking for. And that just allows us to, consult with more people, because there's some people that just want to get like 3 or 4 quotes. They're really not sure yet, so, it's a good way for them to take a step in that direction and kind of, get a little bit more confidence in the direction they want to go with the product they're planning on putting on their house. And then when I come out ultimately to color match it and actually show them the product, it's a more intentional, beneficial conversation,
Yeah.
And our time is limited in the holidays, because we do get a lot of leads coming in, and, it's I never like saying no to people, but in some way, shape, or form, there's only so many weeks that, we can get these things in before the holidays. There's only so much time that I have, so it's a good way to give somebody information, give them a price, and then put me, on site in front of them, at the right time when they've, kind of made a step towards
your PR training is unbelievable.
I'll put it this way. All right. So like I had been saying, this guy's face pays the bills. The big projects, they keep the lights on. But when it really comes to like his passion projects and things that he's genuinely interested in and wants to work on, it's these type of projects. It's like he bills himself as a landscape lighting expert, but really he's like an exterior lighting designer. Like he genuinely is very passionate about like his views on it and how to best translate that to other people. And he's become pretty good at communicating. I mean, hell, I know a lot of the things that he says. I find myself repeating to people when they're asking questions. I'm like, where did I learn that? Did I ask to learn it?
And
No.
people notice that too. They notice when you give a shit.
Yeah.
Like when you get giddy about fucking just the lighting design and how it looks and the accents and the angles and all this shit, people see that. And I think that's why your content's kind of badass, is that when they're listening to you talk and they see how you move, the vibe, the tone on it.
It's genuine.
Yeah, it's a genuine tone, which is why I love the marketing campaign we're about to launch.
Ask me a question about something that's not lighting, and then you'll see the difference.
I don't want to fucking
And he's
talk
like,
to you.
man, how much longer?
You know what? That you did bring up holiday lighting, because the holidays are right around the corner. It's currently August 9th, right? We got like 2 months until you're probably going to start getting all these people coming in.
1 month probably.
1 month. You sent me a video, and you tell me if you want to talk about this or not, of someone falling off a roof.
Oh, yeah.
The fucking hook rate, the hook percentage, meaning how many people watch past 10 seconds on any ad, is like 2%, 3%.
People love
It's
watching
not-
people get hurt.
Your fucking video has a 70% hook rate.
It's so funny. I was talking to him, and when we were talking about, I can't remember what it was about. It was something else for marketing. I had seen that brief frame of it because I recognized that frame perfectly. I have edited that same video so many times. So how this starts out is I just get a hold of this footage from our friend Dave here.
So let me preface it a little bit, right?
Yeah, open up with it, and then I'll tell you when I get involved.
So my friend Dave Sloan owns Accents Lighting in Joliet, Illinois. I grew up in Chicago. When I was in high school, I met him. I was working at a gym. He would come in, and I ended up getting out of high school working for him, and he helped me start my business out here. So he's like 6'4". I don't know, he's 250 pounds, he's 55 years old. This was probably 5 years ago, and he fell off a 2-story house and just smacked right on the, and to make it worse, like when he describes it to me, it's like even more excruciating because, this was a house that was like 2 hours away from his shop, and he was running a sales call. So he drove up there because they had which is, I guess, a perfect segue for permanent lighting, because this homeowner had one light bulb that was out. And usually when a bulb's out, you just got to tighten it like a little quarter turn, I mean, it's 5 seconds. It's simple, you know? So he goes out there and he realizes that the ladder that he has on his truck is not tall enough to get to that light bulb. So he takes his ladder, and they have a deck in the backyard. So he puts the ladder up on the deck, and he figures he'll climb up over the roof light and come down in the front and tighten the light bulb. Because he doesn't want to send guys in the holiday season, which is when you're like swamped, 2 hours to go tighten a light bulb. He's already there, you know? So he gets over the peak and starts coming down the light bulb, and then realizes that it's too steep. Like, he can't make it back up the peak. So he's slowly like sliding down the asphalt shingles.
I can just hear his voice saying,
knowing that it's just a matter of time before he's going to fall off the roof, you know? So he's yelling for help.
Danger.
You know, trying to get somebody's attention, you know? And there's like some people that, you know, some homeowners or neighbors that hear him yelling, you know, and they have to go in the backyard and take an aluminum ladder off the deck and carry it to the front yard to try to get, you know, to try to get the ladder
60 seconds
before he loses grip.
He has 12.
It's quicksand coming down, and they're trying to
video, like, you know, there's like
the effort's there.
It's like women and children trying to put this ladder up on the front of the house, and it actually, I mean, I think it moved his fall a little bit because there was like, I think there was a boulder there. So,
like a couple people bounced off each other.
The ladder didn't work as intended, but there was a benefit at least. He just couldn't hang on, you know, and he fell off the 2-story house and landed on the pavement. I think he shattered his hip. And
now to qualify, like he was saying, collarbone, hip, like a lot of things were absolutely cooked. But you have to understand, Dave Sloan is a man with a sense of humor. Like, you cannot imagine. I know this guy very well. I was working on an antique, just open wood table. It was just like live edge wood table that I was like refinishing, trying to epoxy finish. He drove over it and broke the damn thing in half. And we just, I had no idea. I was none the wiser. But I mean, it came together so funny in the end, and since I was successful, finally they like let it spill, like, hey, maybe you should see this footage of him running over. So the guy, he can take a joke. So I, at some point, David mentioned it to me, and he also, as a bonus little side quest, he had sent me some footage of him accidentally catching himself on fire in his own shop.
This poor guy.
I mean,
goodness.
But you can say this poor guy, but I mean, he's 6'4", 250 pounds, and he is not afraid to speak his mind. There ain't no poor guy about him. Sometimes he's just damn deserving. All right. So basically, I get this footage, and it's after I've recently met the guy. We become friends. Like, you know, he was not too certain of me at first. But by the end, he's like, okay, you're a good guy. And he's got a very specific inflection. That's why I'm always doing this voice. But I get the footage, and I'm like, man, the very first thing I do is, you ever heard the song by Alicia Keys, Keep on Falling in Love with You? Probably. I keep on falling. And I was just like, perfect. And so just right when that first big like snare and crash hit happens right after that, it's him smacking against the ground. I distort the hell out of it. And it's just...
Is that the one you sent me?
It was, well, that was the very first one. I sent you a supercut of all the different editions of it. I mean, hell, there's just like some brain rot like cat video in there where
he cut this thing like 9 different times. And then he put all the edits into one video.
It's a recurring bit, baby. Like, how can I not do it? It never becomes less funny. That's the thing. So when you've got something that works, you keep on hitting it.
So wait, not to lighten the mood, but you know, with this permanent lighting product, like
you don't have to deal with that.
Well, like I'll tell you. So like when we first started doing government work, you know, when we started doing like we bought a couple bucket trucks and we do lane closures and we do the street light contract for the county, you know, so we do some work that like safety becomes more paramount, you know. And anytime you have, it's a law of averages, you know, like when you have 10, 15 guys in the field, you know, like you just have to pay more attention to safety. And like we had a workman's comp company that we put one landing page up on our website about permanent lighting, and we got a phone call from them and they're like, hey, like you're like, we're not covering you anymore.
They just refuse to insure us anymore. They're like, we don't cover that.
If you guys do Christmas lights, we are not going to insure you. You know, which normally would be like disruptive, but it just happened to coincidentally fall when we were already doing bucket trucks and more commercial work, you know.
We were already on the market for someone new.
You know, and it's just, that insurer just happened to like have the due diligence to go through and like check on our website, which I don't know when people do that or not, but you know, I mean, it's working on somebody's roof line. I mean, like when I was younger, I had a couple guys. It's like, you know, I'd take landscape lighting wire and I'd tie it around my waist, and someone would hold it, you know, so I didn't fall out a window, you know, like
hold an umbrella like a parachute.
But
like
now
Mary
I have
Poppins.
like, you know, like it's no joke anymore. Like I see contractors on social media where they're like, you know, making like a cool drone photo in their or video, and they're on someone's roof with their hands up like they're doing an awesome job, and I'm like, that motherfucker's not wearing a harness.
Yeah,
you know,
It's
like
only a matter of time.
Like
it's one slip.
Like it's you know, when you're younger, it's like, hey, I just want to get the work, I want to get it done, I'll be safe. But man, like this product becomes popular. Like it's popular for window washers, it's popular for painters, it's popular for landscape lighting people that don't do down lighting and peaks, and you know, I even had like behind me that I have a neighbor behind me that you know, they're in a popular band, you would know the name, and you know, they have like a recording studio that's like this big sphere behind my house.
Geodesic dome.
That's where they record all their music, you know, and you know, my wife comes home one day and she hears someone yelling. And she looks. I had a bunch of light poles in my backyard, of course, you know, for a project, and she climbs up on. Dude's just like mangled. He's in a lift. And he's power washing this home. You know, I don't know if they're going to paint it or just power wash it. He's just a power washing company. And he decided to get out of the bucket on the lift to step onto the sphere. And he wasn't wearing a harness. And he slipped. And he fell, you know, 2.5 stories.
Why do you think this workman's comp insurance agency was instantaneously like, oh, we are no longer interested in insuring you? It's because putting that stuff's up dangerous. You get older, you think you're slick, you're stepping up on your step ladder, you're reaching up for it, you know, over your head a little bit like that. You know, you lose your balance on that ladder, you're cooked.
So as a company, we're like, you know, Monday mornings, it's Toolbox Talks. You know, we're signing in. Like, you know, everybody's got OSHA 10s. You know, the guys that need OSHA 30s have OSHA 30s. Like, we take safety seriously, you know, number one, because I don't want my employees to get hurt, you know, but then number two, like we depend on these jobs, you know, jobs that require lane closures and doing street lights and working with the bucket truck. And man, if you cut your finger and you go to the doctor, like the first thing they ask is like, where did it happen? How did it happen? You know, when it happens at work, it's a workman's comp claim, you know? And when you have a large claim, like you're getting dropped. And if you don't have that insurance, you can't do that work. And when that work is work that your company relies on, like you can't fuck around. Like you need to be safe, you know? And not only that, but like if there is an incident that OSHA's investigating, like the first thing they're asking for is like, hey, like what is your safety program? Let us see the toolbox talks. You know, what are you guys doing on a weekly basis? Like you have to be compliant.
You better be white,
and if you're not compliant,
or else they're gonna run
you're
you
fucked,
through.
You know? So I mean, it's part out of like wanting to care for your employees, and it's part out of wanting to be compliant, and it's just like
cover your ass, you know, and their ass.
Safety for us is like paramount, you know, and it's easy to brush it off, and you know, maybe you can't put a dollar value on it, but
that video shows you exactly what happens
when we're out at somebody's house. It's like, you know, it's like, hey, like use the ladders the right way, tie off when you need to tie off, like be safe, you know, like you not being safe is not worth jeopardizing everybody in the company's livelihood, you know? So we take it seriously, and, you know, again, you can't put a dollar value on it, but, you know, I think there's some people that, especially if you're like wealthy and you have assets, you're like, hey, like, I don't want to lose all my shit because this guy sucks.
Because you're a slippery devil,
so,
you know?
So what I'm hearing is that this holiday season, for the safety and well-being of the people putting up holiday lights, just go permanent lighting. Save a life.
Do you have elderly parents? And do you care deeply about them?
That's what I hear.
I put
permanent
it up in my house
for you.
2 years ago, and my wife's like crazy, like holidays. We got like the 12-foot skeletons and goblins, and like, you know, I got a 3-car garage, and it's like there's no car in the garage. It's like
it's storage.
It's like if you get holidays, it's holiday decoration.
Still a thing.
Every year, you know, like Christmas rolls around, I'm up on the roof, you know, I'm pretty good at it. I've been doing it a long time, but I'm like, man, I got to go up there. I got to clip everything in, put it all up, and
it's just
a couple years ago, you know, we put the permanent lighting system up, and man, like the first year, it's like, you know, like for me, it's like I have to actually do it and buy the materials. For a homeowner, it's like, man, I got to spend the money to get this done. But you know, you do it the first year, and then man, that second year when you pull out your phone,
and you just click a button,
just turn it on, you go,
and you just push a button, and it all fucking comes on.
There we go.
Like that's it's, you know, like you appreciate it more. There's not a lot of products that you appreciate more like a year later.
Yeah, especially
when you got
on the holidays.
Wait, you mean I don't got to put it up again?
It's super cool when you get it because your house looks badass, and then the next year when you just push a button, you're like, man, so glad I did it. And for people that are paying somebody to come out to their house, and I've never, like, we don't do, we do a lot of holiday stuff, but like, I'm not, we're not a company that's like, hey, just call us for all of your holiday lighting needs. We do a lot of HOAs and bigger projects, and we do this type of stuff. We're not doing, residential roof lines and wrapping trees so much anymore. But for those that pay a good professional company to do it, I don't know what they're spending. They're spending, for an average house, I'm assuming you're spending, $1,000, $1,200, and
after
for an
years.
average house with this type of product, by the time you hit your 4th year, like, you've kind of paid for permanent lighting.
Yeah, I kind of equate it to going out to the bar, like literally pissing away money. You're having them wrapped up and then unwrapped.
A 4-year return for
you got to pay for both, by the way.
A 4-year return for a product that you should get, every bit of 10, 12, 13, 15
And you're not only using it for the holidays, though, too. You're using it for...
It's a pretty efficient return,
You have the option.
And there's a lot more options and controllability of this type of product than there is when you're just stringing lights on your house. There's no service calls.
Yeah.
You're not getting a bad wind and lights are coming down. It's not going to rain and your GFI is tripping. Like, all those problems that are endemic with a conventional lighting system just don't exist with this type of product.
I like that. Okay,
Closed
so
loop.
I don't want to wrap it up yet. I want to do one more conversation. We're at 7:12, so we probably have like 5-10 minutes. Austin, what do we got?
I'm recording time 30 seconds, but yeah, another 5-10 minutes.
Is that cool?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah,
So-
you guys are at 59 minutes already.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I only asked like 2 questions on there, but I do want to talk about the AOL convention.
AOLP, Association of Outdoor Lighting Professionals.
America Online.
When is the... Because I know we've talked, because we have some content that we don't want to release yet, which we could cut this out, and I don't give a shit. But I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that, what's going on this year, what they have going on, when the convention is, and if there's anything else you kind of want to...
Yeah, so first of all, for anybody that doesn't know, the AOLP is the Association of Outdoor Lighting Professionals, and it's a trade group, and they have a conference every year, and I think I went to my first conference.
Sorry.
Oh, is it coming out of the bag?
That is my phone.
Fucking Billy.
Hey, man.
I like my seeing him go through each hand.
If we cut it off at an hour,
It's my mom!
you would have looked like a genius.
59 minutes.
But because we tried to extend it 10 minutes.
All right, as we were saying.
So AOLP.
So AOLP, Association of Outdoor Lighting Professionals, just a trade organization, and I think I went to my first conference. I mean, it was like my first or second year in the industry, so this is going back to 2004, probably was my first conference, so 21 years ago. And, at the time I was 20, and it was cool, like it's cool when you go to a conference that's like a group of people that are in the industry that you're either in or trying to get into, and it's interesting. And
Very easy to shoot the shit when the people around you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. It's like David's heaven.
He's like, oh yeah, lighting.
And then a few years later, I realized that they have like this awards program. And at the time I was working for Dave Sloan, I was living in Joliet. I guess it was just a couple years afterwards. And I'm like, hey man, like we should enter some awards, like I'm looking at the awards and I'm like, hey, we got some nice projects and it's nice to get some, recognition from other people in your industry. So him and I like go through and we submit awards and we won a couple awards, like nice awards that we could put up on the wall and be proud of, So I became a fan of their awards program, and then we went another year and we put a couple jobs in, we won some awards, and then I don't know if it was the second year or the third year, but, we show up and, they changed the program a little bit, and instead of giving out X number of awards, they were giving out more awards, which
kind of diluting
bit of
increases your chances
participation.
of getting an award. But the problem that I had with it was like there were some categories like that just don't have a lot of entries to them. So like if they're giving out 3 awards, you might have a category that might only have 3 or 4 entries. So it's like, well, shit, like now it's like everybody gets an award. Like that doesn't make sense to me, So I was at like Dave and myself were actually like, like we had they have a nice awards dinner, and the president at the time was this guy, Mike Dio. And, I don't know him well, and now I know him better, but, because I've been involved in the organization for so long. But back then, like we approached him before the dinner and I'm like, hey, like I want to bring this up to you now. not after the awards dinner, because obviously, like, if you didn't win and you have a beef about something, like, it changes the dynamic of your
Hey, this is wrong. I didn't win.
So we just pull them aside and we're like, hey, like, it's kind of bullshit, like, we spent a lot of money to be here, and like, I just wish we knew that, like, you guys were giving out all these additional awards, because and I guess, this is to me, this is a compliment to the organization, because with not knowing Mike Dio well, like, I got, after the awards thing was done, he was like, hey, like, can you sit on the awards committee? Like, if you have, if there's something you don't like about the organization, like, you can complain all you want, but at the end of the day, like, there's volunteers in the industry that are trying to do what's right for the organization, and, you just telling random people that you don't like what's going on doesn't, like, make things change, So he invited me to sit on the awards committee. I was on the awards committee for many years, and, then last year I became the chair of the awards committee. So there's been an appetite to correct the way, or not correct, but just make it better. Like, how can we enhance this program that, for me personally, I've been a fan of for a long time. So
what I'm hearing is basically you're like, hey, I don't like how you're doing it, and then you went and took his job.
Well, Mike was just the president of the organization.
Oh,
so
there's
a conference committee, there's an awards committee, there's a certification committee. Like, there's a bunch of committees, and we have to remember, like,
this humble fella didn't mention at this point that he is the president of said committee, that he asked him to join in on it at that point. He made his way.
So I participated in the committee for a number of years, and then the previous head of the committee was moving, was stepping down. So I moved in as chairman of the committee, and, we decided this year to make some, hopefully, like, very positive changes. So in the past, we've always had, like, multiple categories. And then as a members, all of the members of the organization would vote on their winner for each category. But you would have, if there was 10 entries, you would see all 10 projects. It
was an image carousel, basically.
You would pick on who the winner would be.
Kind of popularity contest.
But there's a lot of, like we all know as lighting professionals, that there's a lot more that goes into a project than, just picking which one looks the best. There's a lot of, technical components, there's a lot of little intricacies that, aren't necessarily shown by a photo. And it's also like, there's a lot of different ranges of, like some people are just, amateur photographers, or in some cases almost professional photographers. Some people have the resources to hire someone to photograph their projects, and some people are doing it themselves, So it's not supposed to be a photography contest. This is a contest for, the beauty and the aesthetics and the technical challenges of the job, and then you have a group of your peers that are voting on who should be the winner. So we're changing things this year. This year we're taking, we've still got, members at large that are voting on it, but everybody's always written a narrative that goes along with their project, but there wasn't, and I don't know how many people read it, how many people use that as, gauging what they're going to vote on.
Scrolling right by. Exactly.
Well, but it's important to understand that.
It is very important.
Now what we've done is we've got, you can still vote as members, but you're going to have that narrative direct, right alongside the project photos. And we've got a scoring system that's got some metrics to include things beyond just the way the photo looks at a glance, but that accounts for, the challenges and the technical limitations that went into the project and so forth. And then we're also bringing in a group of professional judges, that are notable throughout the lighting industry, whether they come out of AOLP or they're from other parts. Because I personally feel like, everybody has their own specialty and their niche in lighting, but it's like anything else, like if you are a lighting designer, even if you specialize in something that's a little bit different than architectural and outdoor lighting, you still have an appreciation for that type of product, or that type of project. So, we're bringing in a panel of, notable judges that are also going to vote on it, but instead of voting the same way that the members vote, they're going to be voting on each individual metric for each individual project. So we're no longer comparing 10 photos and saying pick which one's the best. You are going to view a project. You're going to look at how these projects are intended to be scored, and you're going to provide a score for each individual. Yeah,
there's more info. Project. There's more context.
Basically, to distill it down a bit is from what I've observed throughout it is there's not many chances to have your output directly, reviewed and graded by peers that are respected in your field, and have an outlet to just, have people that you trust their opinion and value it, give you feedback on yours, and then possibly award you. So they're trying to kind of like bring it back to the roots of it, whereas it's slowly become more diluted, and there's more of a focus on, including all aspects of that, the narrative surrounding the project, what technical complications there were, and then kind of more imposing more of a requirement of actually assessing each project on their own merit versus getting all your boys to hop on the site and
vote for me.
It's like
follow my account.
Every company member gets one vote, so it's not like hey, you can do 5 votes a day or have all your friends and family vote for it, so every member company can vote on each project one time. So it's limited in that capacity, but that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not a popularity contest.
So it's different.
This is a contest that hopefully, when you win this award,
it's
It
incredibly.
means a lot.
It's incredible. On that point, though, also that's some stuff that's incredibly easy to bypass. Ask any online poll, like Burger King is like, what should the name of our new burger be? And you're like, what did they choose?
For me, there's nothing more important than maintaining the integrity of the program. So we're making a lot of changes in that regard. We've got a new software system that's coming in that's going to improve the user interface and make voting a lot easier.
Final statement here.
Yeah.
Final statement here. What does that mean for everybody entering? Okay, what are they going to get? What's different? Because they hear you talk about it. Yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. Because they've already seen what it is. What are they going to get this year by entering? Like a more accurate.
It's a fundamental restructuring of how the entire voting and reviewing process happens, to where the intention is to guide these people into receiving actual reviews and feedback of their work based on the merit of their project alone versus just
get better.
Them in a scale. Yeah, and
they'll
it's
be better
it's
having
feedback
entered.
that can help them grow. It's
And for anybody that wants to get involved in the program, we've got, what was a new category last year, we called it Mobile Mastery. This year we're changing it. It's going to be called Instant Illumination. And for this category, there's no professional photography. It's only photos taken with your mobile device.
I love it.
No uploading it to Photoshop and saving it and tweaking a couple things.
Only iPhone auteurs.
And
I love it.
because there's a lot of work that goes involved to it's like if you want to get photos of a project, it's like, even for like a lighting project, like you've got a 20-minute period, you need the right equipment, you need a tripod, it's expensive to do that. And even if you have a professional photographer, that doesn't mean he's good at nighttime photography. It's just like anything else. There's different niches and specialties to it. So there's a little bit like a perceived barrier to entry, where the guys that have been doing this for a long time, that are excelling in that professional photography, are taking better photos than the other guys. So, if you've never participated in the program before, I think the new Instant Illumination category, that it's just cell phone photography, it's a great way that this should be the most popular category that we have. Everybody, whether you're, even for myself, it's like I might have jobs that like I put a lot of effort, I've gone in there multiple nights to take photos, but everybody looks at a nice job at night and they take a photo on their cell phone. It's not necessarily awards entry ready, but with this particular category now it is. So it's a good way to get involved in the awards program. And I think with all the changes that we're making, I hope that it addresses, some of the concerns that people have had in the past. And I just hope that, people that, want to get some notoriety for their projects, I'd like to see everybody, as many people as possible, help out the organization. And
there's no better time to get that feedback and approval you desire. Join AOLP now.